Ever get that feeling like the usual explanations we get just aren't enough?
Yeah.
Like something's missing.
Hmm.
Yeah, me too. That's what today's deep dive is all about. We're exploring self-simulating universe, which digs into this model of reality called the C.T.M.U, the Cognitive-Theoretic Model of the Universe.
Collab.
Seriously, this stuff is mind-bending. But that's why we're here, to push the boundaries of what we think we know.
It's not every day you get to rethink reality from the ground up. What's really cool about the C.T.M.U is that it doesn't just stick to science. It ties in philosophy and even theology, too.
Right, so it's trying to create a complete picture, not just a scientific theory.
Exactly. So where do we even begin with this book?
Well, the very first idea is a doozy. The universe, it's not just the static thing, you know. It's more like a self-simulation that's constantly changing, like reconfiguring itself. I mean, what does that even mean?
It's like, okay, imagine a computer program, but this program is not just running, it's also changing its own code based on what's happening, the results it's getting.
Wait.
So in this C.T.M.U idea, the laws of physics and even logic, they don't come from outside the universe. They emerge from within the system as it evolves.
Okay, so it's like the rules of the game are being created by the game itself.
You got it. No external rule maker, the rules come from inside.
It makes you think about how we create our own little realities with the choices we make, right?
Absolutely. And this leads right into a huge part of the C.T.M.U, the role of consciousness. It's not just a side effect of the physical world, it's a driving force.
Now, the book mentions this term, dual aspect monism. And I gotta be honest, that sounds pretty intimidating.
It's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, it says the physical stuff and the mental stuff aren't separate. They're two sides of the same thing, totally connected.
Okay, but how does that work in real life? Give me an example.
The placebo effect. You believe something will work, and boom, it affects your body. Mental directly affecting physical. The C.T.M.U takes this way further. It says consciousness is part of what shapes the universe.
Whoa, that's heavy. So my thoughts and actions, they matter on a way bigger scale than I ever thought.
Exactly. You're not just watching the universe. You're a part of it, actively shaping it.
That's a huge shift in how we see ourselves.
Hmm.
And then it gets even wilder. The book talks about telic recursion, basically saying that evolution isn't random. It has a goal, a direction.
Right, like that self-updating program we were talking about. But on a universal level.
But that doesn't mean we don't have free will, right?
No, not at all. We still make choices, but those choices happen within this bigger framework of purpose. It's like, think of a chess game. You can make any move you want, but you got to follow the rules, right? And the game has a goal to checkmate the other king.
Got it. So my choices matter, but they're part of a larger structure. Makes sense.
And just like in chess, the more you understand those rules and that ultimate goal, the better you can play the game. It changes how we think about personal growth, too, right? It's not just about what you want. It's about aligning your choices with your goals, but within this larger universal purpose.
Okay, are you ready for your mind to be really blown? The book says the universe works like a language. It's got structure, the rules, that's the syntax, and then the meaning, the purpose, which is semantics.
Think of it like this. Syntax is the grammar of the universe, the laws of physics. Semantics is the meaning, like the consciousness behind it all.
Okay, so if the universe is talking, what is it saying?
Well, we see hints of this language in things like the Fibonacci sequence. That's that mathematical pattern that shows up everywhere in nature, in galaxies. It's crazy. Like a secret code the universe is using.
Well, hold on. Are you saying that our actions, maybe even our thoughts, they're like words in this language? Are we talking to the universe all the time without even realizing it?
That's a big question. And the C.T.M.U suggests that it might be true. We're shaping the universe and it's shaping us all through this constant interaction.
Okay, my head is spinning a bit. So the book also talks about the human mind, but not as something separate from the universe, right? It says the mind is like a system within the universe.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The C.T.M.U says that the mind interacts with the universe, maybe through this language we were talking about. Like, imagine our brains as mini-universes. All these complex networks processing, changing, communicating.
So it's like our brains are having a conversation with the universe.
Exactly. And that means the way we see things, our perception, it's not passive. We're actively shaping the reality we experience. Pretty intense, right?
Oh, it's intense. All right. Okay, ready for another wild concept?
Yeah.
The book talks about something called the holographic principle. It says that every little piece of reality, like every tiny bit, actually holds information about the whole picture. like it's a hologram.
Yeah, mind-bending. Physicists are really looking into this. It challenges everything we thought we knew about space, time, and even information itself.
Okay, so give me an example. How does this work?
Black holes, all that stuff that gets sucked in, gone forever. Well, this principle says that information might actually be encoded on the edge of the black hole, like on its surface. Like, imagine a 3D image stored on a flat surface. That's a hologram.
Wow. So the information isn't really gone, it's just transformed. And this links back to the idea that everything's connected, right?
Totally. The holographic principle suggests that everything in the universe is linked, that each part holds information about the whole. It's like a giant cosmic web.
Okay, I need a moment to process this.
Sure.
So, the universe is constantly changing, making itself. It's running on a language that we're all speaking somehow. Our minds are shaping reality, and it might all be a giant hologram. Did I get that right?
You got it. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more to unpack with the C.T.M.U.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. We'll keep going deeper into self-simulating universe and see what all this means for us, our lives, and the future.
It's a wild ride, but it's one that can change how we understand everything. It's not just about understanding the stuff in our heads, right? It's about how we actually live our lives.
So how do we take something this big, this complex, and make it, like, practical? Like, how does the C.T.M.U. apply to everyday life?
The book uses a cool analogy. Think of a garden. If you want a really amazing garden, you can't just throw seeds around and hope for the best, right? You got to understand how it all works, what the plants need, how the whole ecosystem is balanced.
I see what you mean. So the universe is like this garden, and we need to know its rules to thrive in it.
Exactly. And that's where the C.T.M.U. comes in. It's like a guidebook for those rules.
Yeah.
It shows us that we're not separate from the garden, we're part of it. And what we do matters. Like planting seeds or even pulling weeds, it all has an impact on the whole thing.
So it's not just about knowing stuff about the C.T.M.U. It's about understanding how to, like, live in harmony with the universe.
That's it. It's recognizing that our thoughts, our actions, they all have real consequences. We're not just along for the ride, we're helping to create the ride.
One of the things that struck me was this idea of interconnectedness. It's like not just a nice thought, it seems to be a real principle built into reality itself.
Totally. We see it everywhere, from the tiniest particles to, like, galaxies. In quantum physics, there's this thing called entanglement. You have two particles, and they're linked, even if they're miles apart. You change one, and the other one changes instantly.
It's like they're talking faster than the speed of light, which is supposed to be the limit. It's mind-boggling. And then on the big scale, you see it in how galaxies form, how stars are born, how planets stay in orbit. It's all this amazing balanced dance.
And it's not just physical stuff. This interconnectedness, it goes into the mental and spiritual realms, too. Remember dual aspect monism, our thoughts, feelings, all part of this web.
Wait, so are you saying we're not just separate minds floating around? Like, are we all part of one giant cosmic mind, one big consciousness?
It's a possibility, and a pretty profound one. If that's true, then everything we do, think, even feel, it has an effect on the whole.
So it's not just what's good for me anymore. It's about how my choices impact everyone and everything.
Exactly. It's a big shift from me to we, from an ego view to a view that's more holistic, more compassionate.
Okay, so how do we live that way? How do we put these C.T.M.U. ideas into action?
Well, it starts with understanding those principles of the universe we were talking about. Harmony, balance, interconnectedness. It's about living in alignment with those.
So doing good things, not just because it makes me feel good, but because my well-being is tied to everyone's well-being.
You got it. If we hurt others, we ultimately hurt ourselves. If we cause suffering, we're going to experience suffering too. The C.T.M.U. says that real happiness, real fulfillment, comes from being in harmony with the whole.
It's a challenging idea, but also really inspiring. It makes you want to be more aware, more caring, more responsible for your part in this whole cosmic dance.
It does, and that's where personal growth becomes so important. It's not enough to just get the C.T.M.U. intellectually. It's about changing ourselves to be more in tune with these principles.
Like we're aligning our own evolution with the evolution of the universe itself. We grow, and we help the universe grow.
You got it. It's like imagine we're all drops in a giant ocean of consciousness. The more we purify ourselves, the clearer the whole ocean becomes.
That's a beautiful image. But personal growth can be tough, you know. We all mess up, we have doubts. it's easy to get discouraged.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where self-compassion and patience come in. It's not about being perfect or better than anyone. It's about embracing our flaws and seeing them as chances to learn and grow. It's about trusting that the universe is moving towards something good, and we're part of that.
So not beating yourself up for mistakes, but learning from them and moving on.
Exactly. And we're not alone in this. We need each other. The C.T.M.U. says community is important, supporting each other on our journeys, working together to make things better.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of the big picture when you're just trying to get through the day. The C.T.M.U. reminds us that we're part of something way bigger than ourselves. It gives our lives meaning, like we're all contributing to this amazing story of the universe unfolding.
Absolutely. It's a big shift in perspective. It changes everything.
We talk about this better world, and it's easy to get caught up in the big stuff, right? Like the systems, the politics, all of that. But the C.T.M.U. seems to say that real change, it begins with us.
Yeah, it's not just a theory about how the universe works. It's about personal growth, changing ourselves.
So it's looking inward, right? At our
Yes.
own thoughts, beliefs, our actions. Like asking yourself, am I part of the problem? How can I be better?
Exactly. And that can be hard to face. It's easier to blame others, say it's the system or it's not my fault. But the C.T.M.U. says, no, you have the power to choose, to change.
And that's where that self-awareness thing comes in, right?
Yeah.
Seeing our own patterns, the things we don't want to admit about ourselves.
It's about seeing those blind spots, the shadows. And it's not about feeling bad. It's about realizing we're all a work in progress. We all have potential to grow. Be kind to yourself in the process.
So we're not perfect, but we can always strive to be better, align ourselves with our values.
Exactly. And it's a journey, not a destination. You're always learning, growing, changing.
And we don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
Finding a community, people on the same path, that's important too, right?
Totally. We can learn so much from each other, support each other, challenge each other, celebrate the wins together.
What I find really interesting is how the C.T.M.U. could bridge the gap between science and spirituality. Those have been seen as separate for so long.
It's like we've divided knowledge, right? Science for the material world, spirituality for meaning and purpose. But the C.T.M.U. could bring them together.
So not science versus spirituality, but science and spirituality working together.
Exactly. Science is amazing, don't get me wrong, but it can't measure everything. There are things we know through experience, through intuition, through contemplation. The C.T.M.U. acknowledges that.
So it's finding that balance.
Yeah.
Logic and intuition, the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah. The C.T.M.U. is like a bridge between your head and your heart. It's about being whole.
And that wholeness, that's what we need to create a better world. Not just a world with cool technology, but a world that's evolved spiritually, where those two things work together.
It's easy to get lost in the C.T.M.U., all the details, but the message is actually very simple. We are not separate from the universe. We are part of it.
We are creating reality, shaping it with our choices, our actions, even our thoughts. It's a message of hope, of power, of endless possibility. And we need that message now more than ever.
If you're feeling lost, if the world seems messed up, the C.T.M.U. offers a way forward. It's about discovering who you are, transforming yourself, taking action. It's about being the best you can be, playing your part in this incredible unfolding of the universe.
And if you want to explore this more, definitely check out Self-Simulating Universe by Conrad Riker. You can get it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books. It's a challenging book, but it will make you see everything differently.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, keep growing. The universe needs you.
You're not just watching the show. You're part of the story. Make it a good one.